Someday we'll let you come back to the picture, Greg.
I think I remember
Okay.
you telling us that. Like,
All right, good evening. This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law, 1975, Sunshine Law. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Julian?
Here.
Mr. Connor?
Here.
Mr. Merdinger?
Present.
Mr. Lapani?
Here.
Committeeman Delcourt?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Here.
And Vice Chairman Cohen.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess I did that backwards. I should have brought my glasses. Convenient excuse. First order of business, disposition of minutes, May 14, 2015.
Mr. Chairman, the eligible members to vote are Mr. Delcourt, yourself, Mr. Julian, Mr. Connor, Mr. Wagner, and Mr. Lapani.
Hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Have at it.
Okay, yes. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Okay, Committeeman Delcourt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, no. Okay, and Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Disposition of resolutions, we have none. Move to planning board business, Glenn Carey, file 15-PB-04-MR, searching for an extension of time until September 30th, 2015. Request for adjournment from the July 9th, 2015 planning board agenda. Eric, is there any issues with that?
No, they made the request today. They're wanting additional extension of time. I see no problem with such.
Do we need a motion? Or?
Yes,
Yep.
motion to-
A motion to extend
So moved.
the courtesy. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Merdinger?
Yes.
Mr. Lapani?
Yes.
Committeeman Delcourt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burchett?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman Cohen.
Yes. We'll skip down to the public hearing because there's nothing else left on the agenda.
Business from the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Business from the floor. Yes, it says so. Any business from the floor prior to, nope, okay. Seeing none, let's move down to the public hearing. There's 3 applications on the agenda. Charismatic Associates is adjourned to September 10th with renotice, 2015. Any votes on that, or are we okay? All right, fine. The next 2 is Pearson Properties LLC and 751 Highway 206 Associates with no objection. We're just going to move to the conceptual presentation right away and get that done. Okay, please. Is that all right? Okay. All right, this is 751 Highway 206 Associates LLC, file 15-PB-10 INF, block 200.02, lot 13, formerly known as block 200.B, lot 27. This is on 751 US Route 206. For those who are not familiar, it's right across from KinderCare. It's right next to Sandro's property. You guys know where that property is. It's the medical building.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, applicant requesting informal review of conceptual plan for expansion of the existing parking lot, including 9 porous pavement parking spaces on property in the GB zoning district within the ASD overlay zone district. Please.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Vincent Bisceglia. I'm the Director of Real Estate Operations at Summit Associates. Within Hillsborough Township, we own 105 Raider Boulevard. It's a 50,000 square foot medical arts building. We own 216 Route 206. It is a 74,000 square foot flex building catering to users of 1,200 to 7,000 square feet. We own 1 Harvard Way, a 35,000 square foot high-tech building anchored by the Center for Family Support, which serves adults with special needs. 101 Raider Boulevard, a currently undeveloped parcel in front of 105 Raider Boulevard. And in November of last year, we took title to 751 Route 206, which is a 16,235 foot medical arts building. The original developer was unable to obtain the financing needed to complete it. We took title to the property, and we're in position to try to lease the remaining 50%.
Start your case.
Please.
Well, you're just making a presentation, you're not doing anything else.
Okay. The current users to the building include Robert Wood Johnson, Urgent Care. They occupy 7,000 square feet in the single-story component of the building, as well as a dentist who occupies about 2,050 feet. We have 3 spaces remaining, 1 on the first floor and 2 on the second floor. For about a year, Brunswick Hills OBGYN, a current tenant to a building in Hillsborough, has been looking to expand their practice. They're in about 2,000 square feet. They've scoured Hillsborough and neighboring townships. We have come to terms with them for a 5,500 square foot lease on the second floor. It would effectively combine the 2 single units and include the common corridor, janitor's closet, everything with the exception of the stairwell and the elevator bank into a single unit. It would be a state-of-the-art OBGYN. They have amongst the best reputations in women's health in the state of New Jersey, and it would bring us close to 90% occupancy in a building that we took occupancy of 50% less than 6 months ago. The OBGYN, however, is an extremely dense parking user. For any given patient, there can be up to 3 cars per patient. There can be the patient themselves, their husband or spouse, as well as a parent. And in consideration of that, the load is a little bit larger than what Hillsborough Code provides for traditional medical use. The usable square footage on the building would be affected by way of converting this common area to usable square footage. Roughly 1,400 to 1,500 square feet of corridor, of janitor space would all become usable space. It would become reception, it would become office, etc. So we're really changing the dynamic of the building. That original complexion, composition of rentable versus usable will be changed on that second floor. The building currently hosts 54 parking spaces, which is within code in Hillsborough Township. As a consequence to this conversion, code would require 60 spaces for the parking site. We are seeking 9 additional spaces at the rear of the site. It would require a variance of impervious by, I believe, 1.5%. We would be using porous pavement so as to have little to no effect on stormwater management. And our spaces would be 9 by 18 as opposed to the 10 by 20 required by code.
This is where I take over.
I just was going to just ask, are you going to just,
Yeah.
is this 9 plus 54 becomes 63, or is it 9 plus 60 becomes 69?
Apparently, if you take the usable number of square feet, because they're converting the second floor lobby, the requirement would be 60. But this would provide 9 additional, so the total would be 63.
Correct.
The grass paver spaces are on the easterly side of the existing aisle. What we would do is we would take out the existing curb. This would be porous pavement. We would extend the curb around these particular parking spaces. So if you drive by, it's going to look the same as the normal pavement, except that it's going to be porous pavement. We'd have to come back with a formal application. We'd have to do the soil test. And there's other items within both your planner's memorandum regarding some existing landscaping that we fixed when we came back. There was an existing drainage complaint. Now, I did not do this, our firm did not do this design, but I'm aware of this. I spoke to Mr. White and to Tom Bellinger on this. The applicants actually met with the neighbor to the north this afternoon. He would request.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I'm sorry.
I'm not picking it up, or maybe just use the other one. Just speak up.
Okay. So they met with the neighbor. He's requesting a minor drainage modification adjoining his property. When we come back, I will implement that. He's also requesting that the 6-foot-high fence adjoining his property be placed up to an 8-foot-high. I believe that's a variance, but we'll appease him and come and apply for the variance. And then the last item is he's asking for some landscaping, and we'd certainly do that. So the main aspect why we're here conceptually is they used up the whole 50%, well, 49.5% of the allowable impervious. This will increase it 2%. That would be a variance. And that's why we're here, to see if the board would entertain that variance, knowing full well that this is not a binding decision tonight. But if you say yes, we'll go ahead and we'll file a formal application.
I'll leave the fence to later. We guys can answer
Yep.
questions if you want. I'll go after the fence after.
Big and white?
Getting rid of that one.
There's also two things that Marcia Schiffman picked up that were not implemented that were supposed to be implemented. One, the former owner was supposed to dedicate 17 feet of frontage along 206. That did not happen. When we come back, that will happen. Secondarily, there was an access easement to the property to the north. Apparently, the owner to the north isn't at all interested in that access easement. He would sign an affidavit. I'd present that to the board as part of the testimony. That particular access easement, if it were implemented, would take away 2 parking spaces. So my client's not interested in that access easement either.
Yeah, so just FYI, I mean, we've been recommending and we've been allowing the porosity issues in terms of either porous concrete, porous cement, or porous pavers. We've been encouraging developers, and even I think last application was a residential application that we were talking about. I think it was Richmond properties. I don't remember off the top of my head, but anyway, we've been recommending that as a best management practice. It's kind of new in the township now. This is probably, within the last 6 months, we've recommended a lot of that. In terms of stormwater recharge and best management practices, it's really a good practice. And in fact, there's people on the Environmental Commission that solely just focus on stormwater management. I mean, I could think of Dr. Abrupka, and I mean, he's really a big proponent. He's a professor at Rutgers, and he does a lot of stormwater studies and talks and this type of thing, and just verified it all with him. So it's just kind of FYI that we have been going along with this, the porosity issue with allowing porous pavers, whether they're pavers or cement or concrete. So just kind of FYI.
If I may, we've reached business terms with the OBGYN group. We've got a lease negotiated, and it is exclusively contingent upon the additional parking being allowed in this situation. They'd be ready to sign as early as probably next week. They'd probably be operational first quarter of next year.
You just have to just make sure you maintain the porosity of whatever you're using, which is, whatever that is. You look at it once a year, you make sure, the drainage is working and it doesn't get clogged up with sediment and that type of thing. But otherwise, it's a good practice.
We've used it in the past in Raritan Center, and it's been quite effective.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that the last piece of vacancy that you have, whatever tenant you ultimately got in there, that might require additional further?
It's a small section.
Okay.
There's no room for expansion, and we don't anticipate it. I can't imagine where we would put the
So at
additional parking.
63, that would be enough
if we-
even to fill up that
I
other
do believe
piece?
so, yes. We'd have just enough room to satisfy and complete the building.
Well, I don't think there's any other questions. As far as the fence is concerned, Bob was very familiar with my opinion about the fence. Going back to the original application, we had a real arm twist with the original owner for landscaping and the fence to protect the neighbor next door. And so whatever arrangements you can make with the neighbor, I'm sure it's going to remediate the issue, and
We had
we're
that
happy to
meeting.
see that done.
We had that meeting this afternoon. I think we've come to an agreement on the fence, the position. They're adding some additional landscaping. I respect their privacy very much. They had a wonderful view. Now it's taken up by this building. A little bit of a higher fence, repositioned with some landscaping should appease their concerns.
Sounds good. I'd say go
Okay.
ahead and do it, right? File the application, right? What do you think?
I guess my only other question is, would the additional volume of visitors, does that impact anything from a traffic perspective, getting in or out of that location? And I'm not sure, maybe. where
We
are.
don't believe so,
It's
but
a-
one of the
it's a-
application, one of the conditions is that we may bring back a traffic consultant to analyze that.
And we believe that the symmetry between the urgent care and the OBGYN fits nicely. The OBGYN practices largely during the day. The urgent care practices during the night. But in order to satisfy both of their requirements, their parking requirements per the lease, what they think that they need, that's why we're making this application. So we don't think that there's going to be heavier flow at any given time than you would see in any other normal office building of this size.
Okay. You have a comment? Our engineer has a comment.
I do.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I don't have a single problem with this. It's totally logical. Summit Associates has been a very good company in the town, a good rateable, and you want to buy more buildings, which
Thank
is
you.
great.
Thank you.
And,
Appreciate the compliment.
I see it as a logical approach to your business and how you're dealing with the situation. I'm sure the trees will be rectified, the fence will be rectified, and I don't have a problem with the spaces.
Thank you for the compliment.
The engineer had a question, please.
I did. Can you verify the number of spaces associated with that, based upon my quick calculations?
Existing
5,500 square feet would be the...
would be the
proposed,
rentable, exactly, would be the rentable square footage of the new user.
which would be 22 spaces per the ordinance?
It would be 4 per 1,000.
4,000.
Yes.
Come out to 22.
Per code, correct.
code.
But the OBGYN has requested additional spaces.
Okay. And you're providing, it appears, 3 beyond what the code requirement would be? for the
Approximately,
overall
yes.
site?
Yes.
And so are they requesting 25 or more?
They're requesting, I believe the number was 26 or 27 spaces they had requested. 26, I believe, is the number.
Okay.
Marcia, do you have any comments?
Mr. Heibel addressed most of my comments. Had a lot of comments on landscaping, but that's sort of my...
We
whatever.
all did when this
But
application
it's
came
good.
along. Okay, well then, there's no vote necessary, is there?
No.
Okay, then we're good. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much.
You're
And thank
welcome.
you once
Thank you.
again to the
Appreciate the time,
applicant
the
for the
open mind.
courtesy of going first.
Thank you.
We beat the 20-minute clock.
Mr. Chairman, I want to reflect that.
Oh, I just want to reflect to the record that, what?
740, Mr. Peterson.
7:40, Mr. Pearson arrived.
Thank you.
First thing he said is I should
Thank
grow
you.
glasses.
Yeah, I got my note.
You got your note?
I get attention.
You gotta sit between Sean and Mike, that's what the text is.
Hey, that's the best thing.
I know. That was my seat. When I first started.
Let's go with the next
You got the
application.
short.
All right, next application is Pearson Properties LLC, 15-PB-05-MSRV, Block 151.09, Lot 220, formerly known as Block 151, Lot 2, 340 Valley Road. The applicant is seeking a minor site plan approval and a C bulk variances from minimum front yard setback, pre-existing non-conforming, and minimum rear yard setback, pre-existing non-conforming, for existing structures to convert the pre-existing outdoor manufacturing concrete production facility to an asphalt production facility with new asphalt production equipment and delineated parking, and to eliminate the existing residential dwelling and convert to office use ancillary to the primary manufacturing use on property in the GI zoning district.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. My name is Alexander Fisher from the law firm of Morrow, Sabo, Carmino, Grant, and Schalk. I represent Pearson Properties.
Can you hear it? Caswell, okay?
All right, how's that?
Better.
As you stated before, this application is for a minor site plan and bulk variances for front and rear yard setback. And I believe some design waivers have now been identified for lighting and the performance standards for noise for the GI district. The applicant proposes to convert the existing concrete manufacturing plant into an asphalt manufacturing plant, which is a permitted use in the general industrial zone. The applicant will keep and reuse nearly all the structures on the site, eliminate non-conforming height and reduce the height of the building by 12 feet. Will eliminate a non-conforming residential use by converting existing non-conforming residence into a support office. Will reduce the average output from the former concrete factory and the traffic associated with it by up to 50%. So I have today with me Michael Ford, who will provide engineering testimony, Kurt Mitchell, who is the facilities director at Pearson, to provide testimony regarding the facility. I also have Slavik Mokienko, who does operations at Pearson, to provide testimony. I have Catherine Sutton-Choate, who is an employee of Aztec and an expert on asphalt plant equipment. And I have an operation. I have Jack Zybura, who is an licensed acoustic engineer, professional engineer with specialization in acoustics. And I have Drew Poliniak, who's a traffic expert as well. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'll start with Mr. Ford. If you could come up and describe the site plan.
You want to swear them all in at one time?
Yeah, we can swear everyone in.
I state your name, please.
Everybody raise your right hand.
Wait.
Okay.
One
Mike's got to
witness.
put up his board.
Okay. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Starting with you.
Michael Ford, F-O-R-D, licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey with Van Cleef Engineering.
I'm Catherine Sutton-Choate. I'm the Director of Environmental Compliance for Aztec Industries.
Excuse me,
located in
you
Chattanooga,
want to grab the
Tennessee.
microphone, please? So, thank you.
I'm Catherine Sutton-Choate. I'm the Director of Environmental Compliance with Aztec Industries located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're the manufacturer of the proposed asphalt plant equipment.
Jack Sabora from Lewis Goodfriend and Associates. I'm a professional engineer in New Jersey specializing in acoustics and noise control.
My name is Kurt Mitchell. I'm Facility Director for Pearson Properties.
Douglas Poliniak from Dolan and Dean Consulting Engineers. I'm a traffic engineering consultant.
Do you need him to spell his name? Lucille, you need him to spell the name?
I have some of their cards, so I
Okay.
think I have all of okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Slavik Mokienko, General Manager, RE Pearson Materials.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, you want to take? And Ms. Mr. Ford, could you give this board the benefit of your background?
I have appeared before this
I
board.
think we're good.
numerous-
We're good. We just saw, I think it was a week ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
Seemed like a lot longer.
And 2 weeks from today? Okay. Regarding the application, as was stated, it's a minor site plan. So the essence of the application regarding site changes or improvements to the site is really minimal. First, I put an exhibit on the wall, and maybe we can mark that A1. It's an aerial view of the site showing the existing conditions on which we've overlaid the changes, and I'll outline them in my testimony. Okay. I'll take a chance with the mic working, and I'll stay over here.
It works.
Yes. Okay. The properties in the GI zone on Valley Road, that's at the top of the page, where it has frontage. And at the bottom of the page is the active rail line, which traverses Valley Road, then Auten Road by the school, near the landfill, the municipal building on Auten Road. Immediately to our east is Aeropress. This is the property which I'm outlining now. It's 12.8 acres. It's the pre-existing Phillips concrete plant. The main concrete operation you can see in this aerial is a gray material, concrete, mostly is the existing coverage over the site. And then, as was stated at the introduction of the application, there is an existing residential dwelling on the property which has an independent access to Valley Road. Because it's in the general industrial zone or the GI zone, residential uses are not permitted. So while Phillips Concrete was in operation, I understand one of the employees actually lived in the house, which helped to monitor the facility. We were advised by your zoning officer at the onset of this application that to maintain that residence would require a use variance. So in order to eliminate that non-conforming use, we've proposed to convert that residence to an ancillary office use with a couple of admin people to support the conversion to the asphalt plant, thereby eliminating that existing nonconformity. The other nonconformity this application will eliminate is in the existing concrete facility operation. There's a tower. If you've been by the site and you see through the gate access, there's I'll say a silo as part of the concrete operation that's 72 feet high. In the GI zone, structures are only permitted to be up to 60 feet. So that conversion from concrete to asphalt will take or require all that equipment to be removed and replaced with concrete manufacturing equipment which will not exceed 60 feet. So that nonconformity will be removed. Two existing nonconformities that we're seeking variances for, these are the C variances, are for that existing residence that I mentioned earlier, has a front yard setback of about 35 or 38 and a half feet, where 150 feet is required. We would request that variance. In order to eliminate the variance, we would have to relocate the structure or remove the structure, which is a hardship we'd rather not do. We'd rather, the structure's in fairly good condition, we'd rather convert it to an adaptive, good reuse of the facility, but were the board to see that they would rather not have that variance granted, the applicant would be willing to remove the structure entirely. The second variance is with regards to a rear yard setback to this structure at the rear of the facility bordering the railroad. Back in 1986, our office processed an application here in the township for the placement of that structure, and part of that application was a variance for a rear yard setback. As part of this application, we're seeking that same rear yard setback. We'd rather reuse that structure as was stated in the introduction, but again, if the board were to see that they didn't want to grant that variance, albeit minimal, where 100 feet is required, it's 82 feet at its closest point, and that actually happens to be at this location where the property has an angle point. The property is serviced by public water and sewer. That would be maintained. The other, or the really substance of the changes to the site are that, and I'll go back to the board again. As part of the new asphalt production equipment, which is highlighted in brown on the rendering, there's a portion of it that extends in this area, and we would be adding a pavement in this area to accommodate that structure and to basically result in a net decrease in impervious coverage on the site. We're going to remove and revegetate some portion of the pre-existing concrete plant. There's some ramps that really don't fit into the asphalt production, which would be removed and returned to vegetation. And while the maximum impervious coverage allowed on the site is 50%, we're at 41.2% in the existing condition today. And then with the proposed changes, there's actually a net decrease, so the end result would be 40.5% impervious coverage. So there's a slight decrease in impervious coverage. The overall disturbance on the site is less than an acre. I guess at this point I'd like to go into the review reports, to go through the couple of review reports we've had and address the concerns or comments in them. First, I'll say for the record, we've received on March 23rd of this year, approval from the Soil Conservation District for the soil erosion and sediment control plan, as well as an April 1st review approval by the Somerset County Planning Board. We received a May 20th review from Chris Werniger, your fire prevention official, which contains 3 comments. We'll agree as a condition of any approval this board may grant to address each and every one of those comments to his satisfaction. And now I'll go to the 2 reports, one from the board's engineer and one from the board's planner. Perhaps first would be the May 28th, 2015 review report by Mr. White. There's 4 pages. Regarding page 1 is the description of the application. Page 2, general comments 1 through 10, will comply with. Starting on bottom of page 2, site conditions, item 1 will comply with that, as well as items 2 through 6 at the top of page 3. Under lighting and landscaping on page 3 of 4, this is an item we'd like to discuss, and at the introduction we discussed or described some design waivers we are seeking. We had provided a lighting plan as part of the application. The review comments from both your planner and engineer have suggested that the lighting fixtures are mounted too high and it's too intense. First, I'll say that by the general nature of an asphalt production facility, and you'll hear this more from the operational experts that'll testify later, by the nature of the asphalt plant, we're operating in those times of the year when it's the longest daylight. That is December, January, February, when you normally would need site lighting. We wouldn't be in operation. We are providing site lighting basically to comply with the township ordinance, and also for those occasional times, and this will be described also in testimony by the operation experts, those occasional times, albeit rare, when there would be a need or a call from, say, DOT or a county project or any paving project where nighttime operation would be necessary in order to acquiesce to the need to pave at lower traffic times. So regarding the lighting, there's been a suggestion to lower the lighting and make it less intense. We will do that. What I'd like to propose, and this is for the board's consideration, is one restriction is that the mounting height of the poles be no greater than 15 feet. That may fit well to an office parking lot where you have single or double row parking, but in an industrial area like this where we have a larger open area of pavement and a need to provide a greater expanse of lighting, while at the same time try to limit the amount of poles and the obstructions in order to facilitate the operation and movement equipment, we would propose to have lighting no greater in height than 25 feet. And as an example of how that compares to other sites in the town, I was involved in the renovations and expansions to the Hillsborough High School back in 1986, 88. They expanded the parking lot, the gyms. There were a couple phases of an expansions. All the lights on the high school site are 30 feet high. So this would be lower than those lights. And we would provide a lighting plan in that regard to your engineer and planner's satisfaction. And certainly the lighting plan would be equipped with automatic shut-off or shut-off so that we don't need it on or have it on when we don't need it. And they would include certainly the what is typically referred to as house side shields. So the foot candle lighting plan that would be provided would demonstrate that basically at our property line the foot candle intensity is down to 0. That would include also, and I see in Mr. White's comments, no spillage of light onto Valley Road. Okay. Traffic at the bottom of page 3 on Mr. White's report, I'll leave to others to address. There was a traffic report submitted as part of this application. On page 4.4, there are just 2 comments under grading and 1 comment under stormwater, and we would comply and acquiesce to satisfy those comments to Mr. White's satisfaction, and we're aware of the outside agency requirements. The last memo I would want to refer to this evening would be a June 4th, 2015 review memorandum by Marcia, your planner. I'll go to, I think, really the 5th page of 8. There's a table there that refers to the bulk standards. You'll see highlighted the 2 variances under front yard setback and rear yard setback I've already described that are part of the request on this application. And at the bottom of that chart, the lighting standard, which I've just described, the waiver that we are seeking. On the next page, 6 of 8, I've discussed and described the 3 items under variances or waivers. That's the 2 setback variances and the design waiver regarding lighting. Under item E, planner's comments, item 1 is the same. Item 2 regarding the operation, that'll be addressed by others in testimony, as would item 3. I think I'll jump ahead to the last item. I've already described our response to the lighting, which is regarding item 6. Item 10, landscaping. There is items A through E. We will address those. That is, there's been a request to provide street trees along Valley Road. What I would propose is that you can see on our westerly border, we have some woods close up the Valley Road where maybe street trees wouldn't be appropriate, while along the middle to east portion, there are some gaps in the vegetation along the street. We would, if needed, meet with your planner at the site to review appropriate spots to put in street trees. We would also provide, as requested, some buffer landscaping along the fence to help supplement and buffer this existing outdoor operational area. And then there was a suggestion that there's a chain link gate that exists today, access to the site, that be supplemented with something or replaced to make it so that you can't see through that. What I actually discussed on the phone with your planner today was perhaps putting slats in the chain link fence, or putting, another alternative might be to actually strap on some screen. What the, purpose of that would be to provide that screening while not adding great weight to the gate and maintaining it that way. Marcia has other suggestions. I've discussed it with the applicant. We would address the gate to your satisfaction. Whatever gate needed to be changed there, we would address it and pick out a gate or an opaque gate that meets with her satisfaction. What I'd like to say too is that the gate we're talking about is set quite a distance off of Valley Road. It would only be closed when the facility is not in operation, so it's not a gate you'd be able to see or look at when you're driving by and it's in operation. It would only be seen when the facility is not in operation. That is when it's closed, and that would be primarily during evening hours when your visibility would be obscured just by the obvious darkness. And I'll let you speak to how we'd like to handle that. Let's see. I think there was also a suggestion, as your ordinance requires, that either sidewalks be provided along Valley Road, or as an alternative, perhaps contribution to the sidewalk fund be made. The applicant would be willing to make that contribution rather than providing sidewalks where in the GI zone we don't really anticipate that or being a need for that. Another suggestion regarding pedestrian traffic was the addition of a sidewalk from the residential area back to the asphalt production area. While the applicant would be willing to do that, if the board so desired, as was suggested by one of your professionals, knowing the operation of the facility and making this discussion, discussing this request with them, their preference would be not to provide that sidewalk. They don't see a need. There's not, this is admin people, this is production. We'd rather not link the two. We don't see a need of pedestrian traffic between the two. So we would request that that sidewalk not be required for that linkage. But if the board absolutely or so desired it be installed, the applicant would acquiesce to that request and install it.
Anything else?
No. I don't believe so.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
No sidewalk. Oh.
That opens it up.
Sorry, what's next? Oh, go ahead. Are you finished? Okay, Marcia, go ahead.
I have a few, which we sort of skipped. And the truck parking, loading, storage, are you going to address it, or is that your engine traffic person?
I thought the request was to delineate on the plan, and we would do that.
Okay,
There was a request to delineate. Right now, the existing concrete facility doesn't have striped parking. There's not. It's because it's solely for the operation of the people that work there. They don't have delineated parking spaces. As the initial review comments, there was a request to stripe some parking spaces. We've done that. And if there's a request to delineate or designate on a plan where we anticipate parking trucks, as you see on this aerial, actually, this is the row of cement trucks, probably about a dozen of them. I'll let the operation facility people testify or provide additional description of how they foresee the operation, and from what I understand, a substantially less number, 2 or 3 on-site trucks. But we would provide that information on the plan, designate spaces.
Okay, item number 5, the tank farm. Is there going to be a containment area around the tank farm?
I understand there will be, and there maybe be greater discussion about that. From what I understand, what those tanks hold solidifies at a temperature less than 300 degrees. So as soon as it leaves the tank, it's going to be less than 300 degrees and get hard. But I'm giving it in layman's terms. I'll let the experts give you the details of how that, but I understand there will be a containment area.
Okay, thank you. There was also comments regarding signage. Will you be addressing it, be able to address it as per the ordinance, relocating the sign perpendicular to the road? And
Yes, what is being suggested is there's an existing site sign now that identifies the site as a concrete facility. It's a 4x8 sign. It's oriented parallel.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
It's oriented parallel to Valley Road. What was suggested, and we would basically be replacing that sign with the same size sign. What was suggested is to rotate it 90 degrees, so basically you get the added advantage of 2 sides, so you could see it come, passing in the direction we would do that. That's fine.
and with the address, too.
Correct.
Those are
Oh,
requirements
certainly.
of
Yeah, we
the
understand
ordinance.
that was in the fire official's request memo as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will you be providing testimony regarding the on-site circulation? Or about
I would leave it to the
operation?
the operation, sure.
Okay, thank you. And regarding comment number 2 under site consideration, the 2 structures, trailer and existing tank that will remain.
How they'll be used?
How they'll be used and function with respect to the site and the operation.
I think Mr. Mitchell is going to describe that.
Regarding the sanitary facilities, my understanding based upon our the conversation was that there is existing
Correct.
sanitary servicing both the existing dwelling and the trailer area to the rear? Is
Yes.
that accurate?
That's our understanding, yes.
Okay. And will it be impacted by any of the site improvements?
Yep, and we discussed that as well today. We really, it's,
Okay.
I think what we discussed it at the end of the day, if when they put in the new equipment, what's being referred to as this, the existing facilities at this location, the middle rear of the property, are connected to sanitary sewer out either along our easterly boundary or in Valley Road. There's existing public sewer there now. There's actually a line that runs down along this property line on the AeroPress site in a HTMUA easement and actually goes under the railroad tracks. If there's any impact to that existing sewer lateral by the replacement of the equipment or construction of the equipment, it would be repaired to the satisfaction of the MUA.
Okay. Thank you. And with regard to the proposed walls that are on site, you'll be providing screening along the street side of them?
Correct.
And they will not be retaining walls in nature, more so screening and delineation of the operations?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's what's being referred to as the existing concrete plant. And if you've visited the site, you'll see basically stacked like a rector set concrete blocks that form a wall basically around the entire perimeter of the facility. They're being maintained by locating or adding a little bit of pavement in this area. The wall will be relocated out to the edge of that new pavement. So maintaining that screen that your engineer is referring to by relocating that wall. They're not retaining walls in the sense that they hold back soil on either side. They're more like walls, a concrete wall barrier as an effective screen around the property.
Okay, thank you. Open up the public. Motion to open the public, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is to the public to speak to and ask questions of Mr. Ford, and Mr. Ford only. Please step up to the mic and state your name, please.
My name is Ron Gavrosky. I'm an attorney with offices in Red Bank, New Jersey. I represent an interested party in this matter, a resident of the borough of Hillsborough. His name is Kyle Day, D-A-Y. He lives at 25 Bloomington Road in Hillsborough, and I do have several questions. In looking at the site, there is in fact an existing concrete plant that is there, is it not, Mr. Ford?
Yes.
My understanding is that all of the structures as regard the concrete plant, in other words, those structures utilized for the manufacturing of concrete, they are all going to be removed.
Yes.
Okay. Having said that, after all structures that are removed, what would be the remaining structures on the site beside the existing residence, which is being converted into an office?
There's buildings in this location that'll remain.
They're buildings or trailers?
There is a trailer, and
Right.
there's other buildings, trailers, structures in this location that'll remain. The concrete production facility equipment is what's being changed out in this location.
So basically what we're talking about is a complete change in the use of the property. It's the concrete structure facilities being demolished and removed, and you are installing a new asphalt processing plant. Is that so?
Yes.
Okay. Let me talk first, if I may, on that plan. When I read the review letter from the planner indicated that on the site at the present time, there will be 17 parking spaces. Is that correct?
That's what we've delineated, yes.
Can you show me where they're located on that exhibit?
Right here.
They're all located right in that area over there?
Correct. And there's 3 by the office.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about the office, right now, it's an existing residence, is it not?
Yes.
And we're talking in terms of a change of use from a residence to an office building.
Yes.
What consideration did you give to the required number of parking spaces for the square footage of that building as it relates to the number of parking spaces you'll have there? I think you said you got 3 parking spaces. Does that comport with what is required for an office building of the square footage of that house?
That really is comport to the use of the facility by the operator. They only envision 1 or 2 admin people there.
Well, I don't care how many they say they're going to have. What I want to know is, under your existing ordinance, with regard to the square footage of the house, how many parking spaces are required in that area by the house?
I do not know that answer.
You didn't take that into consideration at all?
No, we did not.
Okay. With regard to the requested variance for the front yard setback, what is the proposed front yard setback right now?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the
Sure, I'm
question?
sorry. What is the proposed front yard setback for this new office building?
It's an existing setback of 38.5 feet.
Okay. But you are in fact changing the use, are you not?
Yes, I've said that.
Okay. Would you agree with me that a residential use is a less intense use than an office use?
I don't necessarily know, what by what standard you would
Okay.
rate that. Traffic, so I don't know how to answer that question,
Okay.
sir.
Would you agree with me that that building could in fact be removed and moved in a, where's the north arrow on this? Is it, what's?
It's right here.
That's the north arrow? Okay.
North is at the top of the page.
Okay. The house could in fact, the building could in fact be moved to the south to satisfy the front yard setback.
Yeah, as I stated earlier, if the board so desired to eliminate not only the non-complying residential use, but the variance for the front yard setback, the applicant would be willing to remove that structure.
Now, if you were to-
Their proposal is really just to make an adaptive reuse of a resource, an existing structure that's in fairly good condition.
Okay, if that structure were to be removed, would there be facilities located on the balance of the site that are existing that could be utilized for their administrative purposes?
I would let the operation facility people answer that.
Question, just so I'm clear. With regard to, I guess it would be the easterly sideline of the property, you indicate that there are parking spaces there, and assuming that you're correct in saying there are 3 by the office building, would that mean there are 14 parking spaces along the easterly side of the building?
14 parking spaces along the easterly side of
Right.
the building.
Of the property, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a total of 17, 14 here, 3 there.
Is that the way it breaks down?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, in looking at and that area, I take it, is that presently paved or must it be repaved?
This entire area is paved.
Okay. Will there be a finish coat put on top of that, or will it remain as it presently is?
It is an existing ramp that'll be removed as part of the concrete facility, and then that area will maintain as pavement.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So I
catch
don't
that.
know. I don't know what's under the ramp. This is all concrete today, and there's a ramp on top of it.
Okay. Now, is it just going to be simply remove the ramp and then utilize the concrete that's underneath it, or you don't know what's underneath it?
Yeah, that's what I just said. I don't
Okay,
know
fine.
what's
All
under
right,
it.
fine. And I would assume that if there is not concrete underneath it, it'll either have to be replaced with some type of material, or there'll be a cap or finish coat placed on top of the concrete.
Correct.
Okay. Now, in looking at you are the engineer, I take it, who designed the site, correct?
Correct.
And you're testifying as the site engineer.
That's right.
And I take it that in preparation of the site, you had to also review the existing zoning ordinances in the borough or township of Hillsborough.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at the definition of site plan minor. And as I read it, it says that in order for it to be a minor site plan, it has to be less than 10 parking spaces. Now, you have almost 75% more parking spaces than are permitted under a minor site plan, do you not?
Maybe we should go to the planner's memo now. There's been a determination on that, sir. In essence, what was described is that the existing facility has this entire paved area, and because of the nature of the operation being exclusive just to the operators of the concrete facility, there were no delineated striped spaces. What was asked by the township staff is that we didn't delineate or designate spaces, so we're simply delineating or designating spaces on the existing impervious area.
Well, but you are eliminating the concrete manufacturing use, are you not?
We're converting it to asphalt plant, that's right.
And you're turning it into an asphalt plant.
Right.
And you're coming in with a new site plan, whether it be a minor or a major site plan. So this is a new site plan, is it not?
No, it's a minor site plan.
No. It's a site plan, isn't it? The question would be whether it's a minor or a major site plan.
He's answered it already, sir.
Is it a site plan?
I think he answered your question already, sir.
Okay. Would you agree with me that, in fact, contrary to the terms of your ordinance, you have 7 additional parking spaces above what could be considered to qualify this for being a minor site plan?
I think that's a legal determination, not an engineer's determination.
I'm sorry?
That's a legal determination, not an engineer's determination.
Well, I'm asking if you read the ordinance. Do you have 7 more parking spaces than are permitted?
You asked if he read it, and the planner has already made a determination on that, so, you know.
I'm not asking him to opine with a planning testimony. I'm asking him whether or not, as the person who designed the site, are there in fact 7 more parking spaces than are permitted under the definition of a minor site plan? It's a simple question.
I think the planner has already said the answer to that is
Are you
no.
going to direct him not to answer the question?
No, I'm not going to.
What?
Go ahead.
I agree with your planners.
I didn't ask you if you agree with the plans. I'm asking you whether or not there's 7 more spaces than are permitted.
The spaces exist today. They're just not delineated. They're not striped. We're not adding pavement to create spaces, as is, I believe, really the essence of the definition of a minor site plan in your ordinance, where the additional pavement, the construction of new facilities, expands the operation. There's not an expansion of the operation here. It's an existing outdoor manufacturing facility, albeit concrete, today. It'll be an existing or an outdoor operation, a manufacturing facility tomorrow in the form of asphalt production.
My understanding was that your testimony was to the effect that at present, there are a number of parking spaces for the storage of trucks along the southerly sideline of the property. Was that not your testimony?
That's where the trucks are parked in this, okay, right now, right.
So right now, on this existing site, you're parking trucks on the southerly sideline in an indeterminate number, whether it's 10, 15, or whatever it may be. What you're going to then do is eliminate the parking from that area. You're going to remove a ramp from the easterly sideline, not knowing what's underneath the ramp, and you're creating a set of parking spaces totaling 14 in number along that easterly sideline. Isn't that what you're doing?
No.
Then what are you doing then?
We're delineating parking spaces where there's no configured delineation. There's no striping here now where these trucks are parked.
But you are not going to be parking trucks in that area, are you?
The operator of the facility is going to testify to where trucks will be parked.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have questions for the witness? Okay, you can excuse and go to the next witness, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ford. I'd like to bring up Kurt Mitchell right now.
The witness has already been sworn in, so just be careful. Make sure you try to speak clearly into the mic so Cass can get it recorded. Show me good side, too.
Just spell your last name.
Mitchell.
All right. Mr. Mitchell, could you provide the board with some of your background with Pearson and your position there?
Yes, I was hired by Richard Pearson. He's the founder of the company. It's been in operation since 1980. He hired me in 1989 to run a sand plant for him, and subsequently I got into the position of getting his permits, among other things. So I'm the front man for Mr. Pearson, I guess you could say.
And do you have any other asphalt plants in New Jersey?
We have one plant in Bridgeport, that's Gloucester County, right near the Commodore Barry Bridge. That's a 90-acre site that has a larger asphalt plant facility than we're proposing here, along with a ready-mix concrete plant, a sand wash facility, and a Class B recycling facility. That's a 92-acre site that coincidentally abuts the municipal building in Logan Township.
And what is your relationship with the community?
We have a very good relationship. We actually had the mayor of the township write a letter to try to convey the relationship between the municipality and its residents and the Pearson Company.
And have you ever received any complaints regarding that plant from any neighbors, residential, commercial, or otherwise?
No. As I said, the relationship is outstanding. Fortunately, Mr. Pearson gives me the authority and Slavic, the operations manager, some leeway into doing things the right way, creating good public relations. It's a good business practice, and fortunately for us, the owner of the company feels that way. Makes our job a little bit easier in the end.
And you have your emissions compliance monitored by an independent monitoring service every year?
That's correct. That's not part of the aspect of the business that I'm involved with, but the DEP requires that the emissions be tested on an asphalt plant at least once a year. Some operations have to do more because their emissions are higher than others. We have one of the better plants, I would say in the top 5 or 10% in the entire state for emissions. So we are regulated and inspected. Our emissions are tested once a year.
And, could you describe for the board the anticipated hours and months of operation for this proposed plant here?
This plant is predominantly going to run from April to December. Asphalt production and paving is a weather-sensitive occupation. If you try to pave pavement, asphalt has to be at a certain temperature in order to be laid, and cold temperatures don't allow you to get proper compaction. So 3 months of the year, you basically do maintenance on the plant and repairs in anticipation of the upcoming production season. So the plant will actually run from April to December, and then 3 months for maintenance. Normal operations would be 6:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Reason being you get done early is because of traffic. You don't want your trucks out in rush hour traffic. Time is money for trucks, so if they're caught in traffic jams, you're going to have to pay more money for the trucking. So it's just an industry standard to get the trucks out early and get them off the road early.
What's the employee count when you guys are off compared to when you're on? Is it the same amount of employees that you have?
You might have a few less. I would see this operation starting out probably with 6 or 7 employees and 1 or 2 clerical in the office. That's all that building would be proposed for, clerical duties.
Thank you.
It could grow to more over time. I would not anticipate having trucks parked there and working there. Just the employees would be parking there. We would hire, for instance, the Belmead Corps, Gibraltar would be the main supplier of aggregate. We would contract them. They would usually give you 2 prices, one to pick up the material, one to have it delivered as well. I think when you start an operation up, you would let them deliver the material. In time, you may decide you could save a little money by putting 2 trucks yourself, buying 2 trucks, hiring 2 drivers, and letting them go pick the material up. In the asphalt business, most of the material is picked up by the customer, the finished product. So I would not anticipate hiring trucks or buying trucks and owning trucks, parking them there, and then delivering asphalt.
Thank you.
And what do you think anticipate your average output will be?
There's a lot of competition in this area. We feel that we're going to be able to reach, optimistically, about 100,000 tons per year.
And how does that compare to the concrete plant on the site?
It's on their average years, they were doing closer to 150,000 tons. concrete is sold by the cubic yard and asphalt is sold by the ton. But when you convert the two, their average annual production was 80,000 cubic yards. There are 2 tons in a cubic yard, so their average production was 160,000 tons per year.
And the truck routes that you expect to take, will they be the same, or as far as you can tell, as the prior concrete plant?
Yes, our intention is to leave our site, make a right on Valley, right on Farm, left on Triangle, and then south to 206 to Trent Avenue. I think that's County Road 601. Make the right and the left down to Gibraltar. Trucks will be going back and forth. They're going to deliver aggregate to the job site or to the asphalt plant, drop their load, and then go back the same way. As far as delivering the finished product asphalt, those trucks would access 206 the same way if they're going to go south. If they were going to go north, they'd still make the right out of Valley, make the left on Roycefield, a right on Dukes, I believe it is, out to 206, traffic light, and then a left to go north. Those are the anticipated routes. They're the routes that we would enforce the trucks working for us to go.
And you'll advise your truckers not to use Auden Road, correct?
Yes, I noticed, I drove that road today because that was a concern brought up by one of the Environmental Commission people. I saw there were 2 schools on that road. I also MapQuested it, and I only saw the 1-minute difference between going up 206 or making that left and going down Lawton. So we would enforce that. We would tell our drivers that they can't run that. If they choose, even if they're not our trucks, for instance, if the quarry hires trucks, if they're going on that road, we'll warn them once. If they continue to do it, they don't work for us. They don't belong to our place. This is a typical situation in most townships where there are certain roads that are sensitive. They don't want the trucks on. And it's good business to comply with their concerns.
All right, and there's an existing railroad spur on the property, correct?
Yes, there is.
And you'll be removing that?
That's correct. If we are granted the approval to change this from concrete to asphalt, the next step for me would be to apply for demolition permit, and that would be to remove the concrete production facility as well as the railroad bed. There's no intention to use any rail facility on that property.
And the professionals recommended that the driveway be repaired, and you're willing to do that to the satisfaction of the board professionals?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Can you point out on the map, I don't know if you want to go up there, what the buildings and trailers will be used for?
Go up and take a look.
Just make sure you keep your mic up as close as possible.
There are three buildings that Alex is referring to, a garage, another building here, and then a trailer. It would be our intent to use this garage for maintenance and repairs. You can take a piece of the plant off, take it indoors. In the wintertime, it's much better for people to be working indoors than out. So this would be for repairs. The other building here has a what I would call a small cafeteria, bathroom facilities, and you could store spare parts in here. The third building, it's an older trailer, that would be used for your quality control lab. You have to make sure that the aggregates coming into the site are acceptable for making asphalt, and also you test the asphalt going out to make sure you're in compliance with what the customer is buying.
And you're familiar with and have received other permits, all the DEP permits required for operation of asphalt facilities? You're familiar with and have received your prior plant all the permits that are required for operation of asphalt facilities in New Jersey?
That's correct, and all of those that would apply here would have to be done as well.
Okay. I have no further questions. If there's questions from the board or professionals?
Any professionals, any questions for Marcia?
Well, if you say you have maybe start 6 to 7 employees and 1 to 2 clerical, so that's less than 10 parking spaces needed, why do you feel you want to show the parking that you have, or can you cut it down?
Could it be cut down some? Yes. Maybe the hopes that the business expands over time. For instance, if in the future we did decide to hire our own trucks or buy our own dump trucks, then that would be several more employees to come in. There are rare visits by people, sales perhaps, consultants.
Would you be willing to limit it to 10 initially?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Are you going to be describing how the operation works, or is that another
I could give
person?
you the broad strokes. There are people here with more knowledge of the actual plant itself.
If you could, and also, I know I'd be interested when the trucks come in, drop off their material, do they wait or do they leave? I mean, that'll be part of your discussion, hopefully.
I could give you a brief description, maybe point to the map and explain how the truck traffic would flow on the property.
Please, okay.
All of the trucks will be coming in off of Valley Road, so they'll be coming this way and making a left. They will hug the eastern portion of the property here. The empty trucks that are coming in to get asphalt will drive in, loop to the right here, and go under the silos. The silos are where the produced asphalt is stored. The truck goes under there where the scale is. So the truck drives on the scale, the silos are right above its head. The operator releases the asphalt, it's dropped, the hatch opens, it's dropped, it fills the truck up to the proper weight, and then it gets a ticket printed out, and he goes back out. The trucks that will come in with the raw product will make the same left, come in the same direction, but will make a sweep around the back here and over and dump to the stockpile areas right here. You have 3 or 4 different types of stone or sizes of stone to make asphalt, depending on which mix it is. So there would be 3 or 4 stockpiles here. So those trucks will come in, dump here. They will have to drop their tickets off from Gibraltar. And then all the trucks, these will go on in and exit here. These would come through here and right out this way. That's basically the truck traffic on site, and we describe the truck traffic to get to the different places.
The volume, how many trucks, roughly?
Well, 100,000 tons would mean 100,000 tons of import material. A truck will carry about 24 or 25 tons of product going in or out. And then if you're producing 100,000 tons, that means you're importing 100,000 tons of material.
On a given day or week, how much?
I think we had done some calculation and it came out to, I think it was around 8 trucks an average on average, an average of 8 trucks per hour, either coming in or out.
Day.
You described the stone delivery and you described the asphalt going out, but you didn't describe the oil.
Okay, the oil represents about 5% of the finished product. So if you do 100,000 ton, you do 95,000 ton of aggregate, 5,000 ton of asphalt oil.
No, I meant from your handling and the trucks coming in and out.
Well, they will come in the same direction.
Right.
And this is the storage facility for the asphalt oil. So a tanker, that's a closed tanker, will come in and it will pump into one of these tanks here. I know it was mentioned before, this is a totally contained facility. Should a leak occur, this material does solidify at 300 degrees or less. So the worst scenario, if the tank were punctured or spilled, it solidifies. It does not penetrate the ground. But that's where they would go, and the same thing, the same flow going back out.
Chairman. Go ahead. Anybody else?
I do have a few questions regarding the stockpile locations and the operation of the westerly
So you
portion
gotta
of the
speak
site.
into the mic.
Sorry. The stockpile locations and the westerly portion of the site, the area with the green demarcated that will be turned into green, will that entire area be used as stockpile area? Will it be binned? How will the stockpiles be controlled for the aggregate coming in?
Well, they would have piles. I don't know that they would be totally contained within bins. The good thing about this site is it's close to the quarry. The further away you are from a quarry, the more material you need to stockpile. But when you're 8, 10 miles, you don't need to keep that much material on the ground. You obviously have to stay ahead of your production. But if you were, we have an operation just outside of Atlantic City, and the quarries are in southeastern Pennsylvania, it takes a lot longer for a truck to deliver stone, a lot more trucks. So you don't need to have large stockpiles in an operation like this.
Can you point out again, and we'll need these depicted on the site plan, the stockpile locations and how the westerly area will operate? Can you point? I'm not sure I fully
I'm going to wear out the carpet going back and forth. As I said, the trucks will come in this way with the aggregate. They'll drive around here and they'll back up to a pile. There probably will be 3 or 4 stockpiles, and they will be positioned in here.
What about as you go to the far west? Will that area also be clear area?
I do not think that the piles, maybe the piles will be back here, or maybe they'll be right in here. I don't know that if we clearly defined how we were going to do that. That can be done, though, as a request.
We can put that on the
If the piles
plan.
did not extend back here, there really wouldn't be anything being used on that portion of the property. That's the furthest extent of your operation. I'm not sure if the piles would go back this far or be limited to right here.
And then operationally, how will you get the aggregate back to the manufacturer? Will that be by motors or?
I don't know if I'm catching your question. How does the material get from the aggregate pile into the asphalt production facility?
Asphalt production.
That's with a wheel loader. He would actually come over, scoop up a bucket of the material, and dump it into one of these bins here. They're controlled by meter, so you might have 3 or 4 different types of products that go into making that asphalt, and one might be 40%, one might be 25%, and they meter the amount that goes in.
And that operation will be segregated from the trucks coming in and out through the site. The trucks taking the finished asphalt, correct?
Yes, there would be no conflict, yes, because they're going to be on this side and the loader would be on this side.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
On your aggregate, you're not using any fines.
Well, when you say fines, we call them screenings. The finest product that a quarry makes. No, I would say that there would be a need for,
Some fines.
yes.
And therefore, you're going to have dust control when you're dumping there? Because your regular, or the stone aggregate is going to be washed stone from Gibraltar.
Correct. Your 3/4 or your 3/8 are your main ingredients in asphalt, but you do use some screenings or dust. In dry conditions, what we've done in other locations is it's as simple as hooking up a hose with a sprinkler.
Will you have water out there so you can do that? You don't have to drag the hose 200 yards.
Well,
it's part of
you
your
have to do
design.
it. There is a well. There is a well.
I
right
know
near
the well's
building
at
there.
the trailer area,
Yes.
the building area. But I'm just trying to say that when you're dealing with fines, Gibraltar and its predecessor had problems with fines for years. And, you know, it's something that is important that you prepare for that so you have the ability to keep the dust down.
We have to do that. That's a health issue and a violation if you don't comply. A quarry will generate much more dust than an operation. Like first, by its nature, they're crushing rock, and that creates dust.
Absolutely.
They might be selling 2 million tons of material out of there as opposed to an operation.
Well, they can't sell all their fines. They have piles of it.
That could be. You probably know more than I do what they're doing over there. But by nature of a quarry, you put big rocks in, they break it down into smaller, different sizes, and at some point, as much as they'd like to make certain size, it's only going to make a certain percentage of that, a certain percentage of this, and it doesn't surprise me. Most quarries would have that type of problem.
I just want to make sure you're prepared to have the dust control in your stockpile area for the fines.
We will. That's the way that I would say. We have our operations manager here. He may have a better solution than that. He knows these plants much better than I do. But
thank you.
You're going to have to help me out with this, but there's, in terms of sorting out some of the issues with the Environmental Commission, I think we could do that now because there's really not an environmental professional. There's an environmental compliance person, but she represents the manufacturer of the equipment. So if you want, we can go down some of the items that we talked about on the Environmental Commission, because I don't see any other professionals.
Are they still open, or did you resolve them?
No, I'd like to go through them.
There are open issues that they won't agree to? Or?
No, there are issues that we discussed that I think that we need to just go through, so we have it on the record, and if we have them on the record, we could put them in the resolution, and that would address the issues that came up at 2 Environmental Commission meetings over the last 3 weeks. Okay. Because we did a substantial amount of work. I think it should be. I think it should be
take
noted.
a shot at answering some of these questions. If you can't, maybe the
I'm probably
operations.
going to defer pretty quickly.
Or maybe the operations person could be helpful in that regard.
Yeah, over the last 3 weeks, we've had 2 meetings with the Environmental Commission. We met the first time, and then some issues came up, and we requested they came back. When they came back, we went through a lot of the issues that are on this report that Debbie Boyer put out. So just so everybody understands, these issues, I'd like to go through them, and then, like I said, if we have to, we could put them in the resolution. So we asked for a limited EIS, and some of the issues that we had and we talked about was the fact that we were very concerned about what Mike just brought up with the dust control. We're also concerned in terms of the odors that potentially might come off the asphalt plants, which asphalt plants are noted for their odors. So when we listened to the testimony at 2 Environmental Commission meetings, the equipment seems, to be appropriate, and the technology seems to be the most advanced technology in terms of the asphalt plant itself. So if the equipment will do what they say it's going to do, I don't anticipate that there's going to be big issues with odors, but I think as a concern, for the neighbors or the township, just concerned that there is some type of mechanism that if there are odors, that the plant have a way to address the odors with the neighbors or the township, and ways to kind of address those issues or mitigate those issues. So those are some things that came up. So, as a committee, or Eric, maybe you can help me too, that did come up. Also, we requested, which I know you have a noise professional. We wanted the noise levels to be monitored, and we wanted them to kind of be studied. And we talked about noise mitigation, which we talked about putting up the barriers in the wall. So yeah, we did reach a solution with that, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. Also, a condition of approval, there's really no existing stormwater management plan. That plan has to be developed, okay, upon approval of the minor subplan. Okay, so the stormwater management plan, they're going to need an EGIPTES permit, and that's something that they have to get. So we would have to put that in the resolution. Correct?
Yeah, there is an existing EGIPTES permit on the site, but that would not be applicable to the asphalt that we're proposing. So a whole new one has to be applied.
Correct. So that would have to be rolled into the resolution. So again, that would be a condition of approval. There's also a permit or a plan, it's called Spill Prevention Control Countermeasures Plan, which is a requirement for any oil containers that are above the size of 55 gallons. They're going to need that plan, so that's something else that needs to go into the resolution. There's also issues in terms of, they call it ISRA, which is the Industrial Site, I think, Reclamation Act, which basically in a nutshell means like there was ongoing contamination on the site. So as the new owners of the site, they have to take the responsibility of continuing the process of whatever cleanup they were responsible for. So that was another issue that should be addressed and rolled in the resolution on any condition of approval. So again, just to reiterate, what we heard over the last 2-3 weeks on a positive note was, again, and I know the environmental compliance person for Aztec, which is the equipment that they're going to be using. If it's going to do what they say it's going to do, I think it could work. I think everything that they say about the equipment and how it works, seems okay. But again, some of these other issues that we talked about over the last 2-3 weeks, I just want to make sure it goes on the record and that everybody's aware of everything.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
for the purpose of the record, Mr. Fisher, are you in possession of the June 9th, 2015 memo from Ms. Boyer that Mr. Julian refers to?
Yes, I am.
All right. I don't know who's going to testify as to each one of them. There are approximately 8 issues raised by the commission. I don't know if this witness can testify as to any of them in terms of agreeing to such. The first one apparently requires your noise expert's testimony. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is the applicant willing to agree as a condition of approval that it will conduct a formal noise assessment in accordance with NJAC 7:29-1 and 7:29-2 once the facility is in operation?
Yes.
Will the applicant agree that it is in need of all necessary stormwater permits, NGIPTs and otherwise, relative to the operation of the plant in question?
Yes.
Will the applicant agree as a condition of approval to obtaining all necessary permits for stormwater management?
Yes.
There was testimony, I believe, but if you'll note in the board's letter, traffic in and out of the site will generate approximately 44 to 56 trucks per day, approximately 1 truck every 10 minutes. The applicant noted trucks would only be staged on site and not idling on Valley Road. The facility anticipates 100,000 tons per year. Production on a 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday to Friday schedule. The applicant noted that if night paving is required, they may need to operate at night. The facility will be closed from January to March due to weather conditions and maintenance. Will the applicant agree, Mr. Fisher, as a condition of approval that that the staging will only occur on site and no idling on Valley Road?
Yes.
I believe Mr. Julian referred to it. I assume you're going to have somebody testify as to the operations of the equipment as it relates to the 6th item on the list.
Yes, we will.
All right, you'll address that. Will the applicant agree to provide an SPCC plan as a condition of approval?
Yes, I believe it's required.
Will the applicant also agree to provide all necessary ISRA and AOC approvals that have already been acquired, and also that it will produce such relative to the final cleanup as to the rail siding?
Yes.
All as conditions of approval?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would note that the plant may need to operate on Saturday.
That's a separate issue. The only what I'm trying to do, go through the commission ruling, is there's still 2 items open, or 3. One is the noise, one is the operational issue in terms of when, and the other is the equipment itself.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else for this witness? We're open to public, I'm sorry? Open to public for this witness and witness only? Oh, I'm not surprised. Please, yes. 3 parking spaces.
I have not a whole lot of questions, but just some. You indicated that it's anticipated that the months of the year that the facility will operate will be from April to December.
Microphone,
correct?
please.
I'm sorry. You indicated that the months of the year that the facility will operate will be from April to December on a yearly basis, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And I think you also said that the hours of operation would be from 6:30 a.m. until 4 o'clock p.m.
Those are the normal hours of operation.
Now, how many silos will there be on this site or this facility?
There are 3 proposed,
3 proposed, and the height of them would be how high?
60 feet.
Okay. And what is the capacity for the number or the amount of tons of product that the silos will hold?
That I don't know.
Okay.
We have somebody here that
I
can
understand
answer.
that, but just so, and if you can't answer a question, I understand that, just tell me you can't. But your testimony was that you were basically here, I believe, as the front man for the owner of the property, and that you were knowledgeable about how the operation ran.
I also stated that we have our operations manager here who's much better versed in the
Okay.
details of the plant.
That's fine. Now, when you speak in terms of 6:30 to 4 p.m., but that doesn't mean that the plant closes down at 4 p.m., because after the trucks stop coming in, you have to manufacture the product, do you not?
The only reason you would be operating after 4 o'clock would be if you were running at night. You wouldn't be making asphalt that day or that evening for tomorrow, if that's what you're getting at.
Well, I mean, when these trucks come in to pick up the asphalt, there has to be product in the silos, does there not?
Yes,
So, I mean, that asphalt is being manufactured during the course of the day, and as the asphalt comes out, you have to replace it with new asphalt.
correct. You would be making asphalt on a continuous basis
Yeah.
during the day.
You'd also be making asphalt after 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
I'll let you talk to the operations manager.
Okay, you don't have knowledge of that?
I don't know how to answer that question.
I understand that. I appreciate that. I appreciate your candor. It's not a problem. Now, just so it's clear in my mind, there actually are 2 types of trucks that'll be coming onto the site. One will be trucks bringing aggregate onto the site, correct?
Yes,
And once they get onto the site, they also have to exit the site.
correct.
Similarly, trucks coming in for asphalt come in empty and they leave full.
Correct.
Now, when the trucks come in for the aggregate, they come in, I think, and then they proceed in a southerly direction. And I missed this in your testimony. They then have to go around the asphalt facility and then head in a northerly direction to get into the area where the aggregate is stored. Is that not so?
You're talking about the incoming material or the outgoing?
Incoming material.
Incoming material would go around the back. They will follow a path from the easterly property line. They'll come down that line and then bear right toward the railroad
They'll
tracks,
go
come all the
westerly
way around.
and then
They'll
go
come around the
back up
of the
north
plant.
again.
They're going to come around the back of the plant
Right.
and then dump.
And they're going to exit just in the reverse, correct, or
No,
not?
they're going to continue in a loop around.
Okay.
You want me to
Yeah,
show
would you please?
They'll enter here.
Right.
Come around this way, around, dump, and then come out this way.
Okay, I understand that. And similarly, trucks that are coming in to be filled with asphalt, they come in going a southerly direction. Just, if you would, show me how they exit, okay?
They're going to, better to show you. They come
Okay.
in this way, and then they loop around here and go under the silos. There are the
Okay.
3 silos I
Right.
referred to, and then they'll go out this way.
Okay. Now, I didn't quite catch the testimony as to what would be the total capacity of those 3 silos on site as to how much asphalt they could hold?
You asked that question a different way earlier. I don't
You don't know
the
the answer to
capacity-
that?
I don't know the answer
Okay,
to
fine.
the capacity of the silos.
Now, there was some testimony about 100,000 tons being produced. Is that 100,000 tons per day?
No, that's an annual production.
100,000 tons over the course of the entire
9
year?
months, over the 9 months.
Okay. What would you say on a daily basis, the amount of asphalt which would be manufactured and taken away from the site?
That's going to vary to some degree, but if you took the working days, Monday through Friday, over that 9-month period, and divided that, that will be close. Some days, if it rains for 2 or 3 days, you don't have paving production going on.
Now, you spoke earlier about sometimes jobs proceed at night. Now, you're familiar with the industry, are you not?
Yes.
Is it not so that much of the work that's being done on a turnpike and or the parkway is in fact done at night?
I know that some work is mandated either by the turnpike, the DOT, for traffic purposes. It's easier to lay it down at night.
Okay. That would also be true, would it not be, sometimes in paving parking lots and the like? And shopping centers?
I'm not aware of that being done.
Now, once the asphalt is loaded into a truck for delivery, what is the shelf life of that asphalt before it must be dropped and spread? Do you understand that question?
I understand the question, but I don't have a specific answer.
You don't know the answer to
I don't
that.
know whether it's an hour, 45 minutes. We could have somebody else answer that question for you.
What knowledge would you have about what area this particular site will be servicing? In other words, what's the radius that you anticipate manufacturing asphalt to be delivered to various sites?
It's not my end of the business, but I would say you're probably 10 to 15 mile radius, maybe a little more.
Right. Now, with regard to trucks coming in to be loaded with the asphalt, how long does it take to load a truck with asphalt?
Seconds, a matter of
Seconds?
Right, the hatch releases and the asphalt dumps straight, it's gravity fed.
And on an hourly basis, what do you estimate the number of trucks coming in to pick up asphalt?
Well, I don't have the specific numbers. If you take 100,000, if I did the math and worked it all out, it came out to about 56, or about 56 movements per day was an average.
56 movements per day?
Right.
Okay. Now that's just trucks picking up asphalt, or a combination of aggregate coming in and trucks coming in for picking up the asphalt?
That's a combination.
Okay. So you're going to have some trucks then basically, particularly for those that are bringing in asphalt, they'll be queuing up on that entrance driveway into the site.
Well, you can control that. You have the trucks come in to get asphalt. You tell them what time to come in. We've made it clear that we are not going to allow trucks to idle out on the Valley Road.
I understand that, but you'll have trucks idling in queues on the property, will you not?
Could be some, yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to the trucks delivering aggregate and those coming in for asphalt, are they going to be delineated at specific times, or is that going to be just on a random basis as they come in? Will there be two types of trucks coming in at all times?
The trucks are basically the same, although one's taking material out, the other's coming in. They're dump triaxles.
Right.
So they'd be the same types of trucks. The plant manager or some employee of his will check the schedule, what their needs are, and will order material from the quarry to have it delivered. He may say, I want 15 loads of number 8 stone tomorrow.
Okay. Is it also your testimony that with regard to trucks bringing in aggregate, they will also only be coming in between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m.?
Yes.
All right. But with regard to asphalt being picked up, that may be dictated by the needs of the industry as far as when the asphalt will be put down on a roadway.
That's correct.
All right.
How you doing?
Now, any questions which you're unable to answer, you'll say be covered by the person
You want a break?
giving testimony with regard to operations, correct?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can have him come up.
Now, I think one of the earlier statements you made is that there'd be approximately 8 trucks coming in per hour during that 6:30 to 4 p.m. time period. Is that so?
Total was 56 over an 8-hour day. Yes, roughly 8 truck movements per hour.
Right.
About every 6 to 10 minutes.
That's a truck movement coming in and a truck
Correct.
movement coming out, so it's really 112 truck movements in and out.
No, 56 is the total. It includes the in and out movements.
So then there's only going to be roughly 27 trucks a day coming there?
27 trucks incoming material, 27 trucks outgoing material.
Yeah, but you're not using the same truck. In other words, the truck that comes in to drop off material then leaves. So there's 2 movements, coming in and going out. The same token with regard to picking up asphalt, it's coming in and going out.
Rather than mislead you or say the wrong thing, I would have to
That's
break it all
I
out.
understand that. I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman. We're going to have a 5-minute break, okay? Thank you. We're going to just make sure everybody's aware that we're going to go to 10 o'clock tonight. And are you, any other questions for this witness? Any more questions for this witness? Okay, great. Call your next.
I'll bring Catherine Sutton Choate up.
Make sure you talk into the microphone.
My name is Catherine Sutton Choate, SUTTON -CHOAT.
Thank you. You want to qualify yourself for 2 seconds?
I am a mechanical with ocean engineer by training, but I work predominantly as an environmental engineer. I've been in the asphalt industry for over 17 years, actually over 18, sorry, time flies. My job duties include design of the environmental control equipment that goes on the hot mix plants, and I have been attending meetings such as this for over 15 years, giving expert testimony on the operation of the equipment itself.
All right, she's acceptable. Anybody else have any questions? All right, good to go.
Okay. Ms. Sutton Choate, could you please describe the type of equipment to be used on this plant?
I'll be happy to. I'll go over here and I'm going to explain what the components are and kind of how they work. Up in this area right here, we have aggregate bins. When we're making hot mix asphalt, as Mr. Mitchell indicated, we're following a job mix formula, and so we're ratioing in various size aggregates based on the performance of the mix that we want. So each bin will contain a different size aggregate. Given the number of bins and the number of aggregate storage piles, a lot of times customers will double up aggregates in multiple bins, especially if they have a need for large feed rates of a particular size. As the material is metered out of the bins, it drops onto a collecting conveyor. That collecting conveyor is going to drop the material onto a scalping screen that's going to remove any oversized aggregates from the stream so that they do not become part of the mix, because that would throw it out on the design. All the material passing through the screen drops onto another conveyor. This is an incline conveyor with a weigh bridge on it, so that they're going to be taking live weights of the material passing over that weigh bridge, so they know exactly how much aggregate is physically going into the drum at any given time. That feedback is going to control how much liquid asphalt is put into the mix. The aggregate then is dropped into a counterflow drum mixer. The importance of a counterflow is that the material is going downhill in the drum, but the gases from the combustion process, because we have to dry the aggregate, the liquid asphalt will not stick to wet material. So the dryer is going to have a burner embedded in there, putting a flame powered by natural gas up through the dryer. So as the dryer is rotating, you've got these hot gases that are going up through the dryer. That's going to both dry and heat that aggregate to bring it up to the appropriate mix temperature. The gases are going to be pulled in the opposite direction as the aggregate flow. The reason this is so important is once the aggregate is dried and heated, it's going to come into the mixing zone of this particular drum. Any fumes that are coming off of the asphalt cement because it's being heated. Remember, asphalt cement is a petroleum product. So the process of how you get the asphalt cement is distillation of crude. Okay, so it's going to have some light ends in it. These are similar to fuels. Any of these light ends or fumes that come off the asphalt are pulled back out of the mixing zone through the combustion zone where they are going to be incinerated by the flame. So that is going to minimize the smoke that's generated during the mixing process. It's true that in years past, you could smell an asphalt plant long before you could ever see it. That's no longer true. It can't be with the environmental regulations that are imposed on this industry. We have a bag house that will be filtering 100% of the gases pulled out of the drum. It's going to be capturing the particulate matter or the fines. This is an important part of the mix itself. So these fines from the bag house are going to be conveyed back over to the mixing zone of the drum so they can be included in the mix. Finished mix is going to drop out of the drum into the boot of the tail end, if you will, the hopper, inlet hopper, of a drag conveyor, and they're going to be conveyed to the top of the silos. These silos are not our standard silos. They're going to have an approximate 150-ton capacity each in order to comply with the 60-foot height restriction. We actually have silos that are usually double that in capacity. But at this facility, about 150 plus or minus 5 to 10 tons. Now this area right down here is the tank farm. There'll be 3 asphalt storage tanks. They are vertical. The hot oil heater is in this area. What that hot oil heater does is it sends a thermal fluid through the asphalt storage tanks to keep that liquid AC fluid, because we can't mix it.
Can we get a spelling on? Can we get a spelling, ma'am, on HODL?
HODL?
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, my drawl comes out every once in a while. But as I was saying, in this area, it's a tank farm that's going to have a containment wall around it. Our structural engineers size the tank farm walls to hold, it's about 110% of the capacity of one of the tanks, because the likelihood of having multiple tanks fail is virtually nil. But it's the volume of the tank minus the volume, or the volume of the walls minus the volume of the area taken up by the tank. So if there was to be a leak, the walls can accommodate 110% of any one tank and still have enough room for the other tanks to be sitting in there. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of convoluted, but anyway, we've got preventative measures in place. And as Mr. Mitchell indicated, asphalt cement has to be hot in order for it to flow. So should a leak occur, it's going to be contained within the wall, first off. But number 2, once it cools, they can simply pick it up with a shovel. It's not a toxic product. Matter of fact, asphalt cement is used to line water reservoirs and water pipes all over the country. Now, one other interesting thing about this proposed facility is it's going to have the ability to make warm mix asphalt. What's the significance of that? Well, hot mix asphalt's usually 300 degrees plus or minus about 10 degrees. It could be a little hotter if you're running recycles, but generally 300 degrees. Well, the interesting thing about asphalt cement is it starts to drive off these light ends somewhere in the neighborhood of 275, 280 degrees. And that's because it's a distilled petroleum product. So the benefit of producing warm mix asphalt is that we're going to be using a water injection to foam the asphalt. Well, the benefit of this is you can make the mix at lower temperatures and still get the workability once they get it to the roadway. Okay? When we stay below 280 degrees, You don't see any smoke whatsoever because those light ends are not being stripped out of the asphalt. So the odor is virtually eliminated at any time they're able to produce warm mix pavements. And how often they're doing that is going to be the dictates of their own customer base. Any questions on the equipment while I'm up here?
So, excuse me, I know we talked about the equipment, and I know I mentioned before about odor, but I guess I'll just ask you, so in your professional opinion, do you anticipate any problem with odors coming from this plant?
Under most operating scenarios, no, I do not. There could be some atmospheric conditions where there could be odors detectable. It really is going to be based on the sensitivity of the receiver's nose. I'll tell you, I was at a plant 2 weeks ago in Ohio, trying to find the plant. It was also a plant identical to this one, but in a portable version. And it had an open top surge bin, so not enclosed silos like proposed for this. I had my windows down trying to smell it so I could find it because my GPS had me lost. You know how I found the plant? I followed haul trucks. Seriously. The way modern plants are built, everything's enclosed. We don't want the fumes getting out. We want to keep them in the equipment and incinerate them because that's environmentally sound. The other thing that's important to note is the burner that's going to be used to dry the aggregate on this plant is the best burner that we have available for this area. Okay? Several years ago, New Jersey was updating the SOTA, the state-of-the-art requirements for hot mix plants. They originally proposed lower emission rates that are currently in place, and it was based on the performance of one of these exact burners at one of our other customers' facilities here in New Jersey. The reason the state backed off on those lower requirements was because other manufacturers and other producers here in New Jersey balked at it. Aztec was the only one that said, sure, we'll meet your standards. Okay, so they're getting the best equipment that's available on the market.
Based upon the equipment, how long does it take to produce the asphalt to fill the silos? So to fully fill those 3 silos, how long does that production process take?
This plant has a rated capacity of 400 tons, so they wouldn't be able to quite fill all 3 of them in an hour. Because they're going to have about a 450 ton capacity between the 3 of them, so a little over an hour to fill them.
So you could literally, so you said 400 tons? So you could
Yes,
do that
sir.
8 times a day?
You could. Most of the time, from an operational standpoint, you're not going to run your plant wide open because it's actually going to be worse from a combustion efficiency standpoint if they run wide open and then have to stop the plant because their silos are full. Okay, so most of the time, a plant's going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 75%. That way they can keep running at a reduced rate and not ever stop the plant because it's very hard to start and stop them. You can do it, but that's not the most efficient mode of operation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And just to be clear, this plant will meet, in fact, have emissions lower than the DEP SOTA requirements?
Yes, it will.
And will this plant create any vibration that can be detected by a person?
No, it will not. It does not transfer vibrations that would be detectable by a human to the ground.
Does the plant machinery itself create any glare?
No, it does not. The only light source associated with the actual plant operation itself is the burner flame, and that's contained inside the dryer. You won't even see the flame from the outside.
There any questions?
What's the normal lifespan on the equipment? If it's running 60 to 75% of operation for, say, 200 days out of the year, or less, a little bit less, maybe?
This plant will probably last 20, 25 years or more. In actuality, Aztec was founded in August of 1972. The very first plant that was manufactured by our company is still in operation today. So if you maintain them well, it originally went to North Carolina, and it was traded in by the original owner, and they upgraded, and it was resold to somewhere else. And it's still here in the U.S. I'm just not exactly sure where.
Thank you.
I have one question. Just for the record, what kind of safety features does this plant have in regards to, obviously we just had a pretty good hurricane here, anything that would prevent that building from sustaining high wind damage or anything like that?
Our structural engineers have to take into account the wind loads for a particular area, so all of that will be built in. There are maps that are provided to us, and so all of that will be looked at, okay, especially given your proximity to the coast and the potential for hurricanes.
Thank you.
How long does it take to create the plant? To get all the equipment functional?
From the actual manufacturing process, they could probably manufacture it in the facility in about 7 weeks. It'll take a little longer than that to actually install it, potentially. But the manufacturing of it's about 7.
And this plant will comply with the township construction code and the fire code?
Yes.
And there will be no radioactivity produced?
No.
And no discharge of untreated effluent from the plant?
No. The other thing that the question that came up to Mr. Mitchell was about the dust on the stockpiles. That would be fugitive dust that must be addressed in their operating air permit, so they will have to have a plan in place, and it's usually going to be dictated to them by the DEP. That's throughout the U.S.
And I'm not sure if you can answer this, or maybe it's the plant manager, but one of the questions came up before about the need, or the need to have to produce overnight, given the fact that when the customers may want to pick up, or if they need it first thing in the morning, you'd have to be producing overnight. But given the relatively short production cycle, is that normally the case, that you would be producing it at night, or does it begin when the operation commences in the morning?
You can do it a couple of different ways. If they're doing a long paving at night, then they're obviously going to use more than we can store at that time period. So there will be times when they will need to operate at night. In other instances, let's say they put up enough mix in the silos up to about 450 tons, they can go ahead and shut the plant down and continue to load out trucks later into that evening. So it's all going to be dependent on how much mix they need over the course of the evening.
And once it's in the silos, how long can it stay there?
I think these can store up to 7 days.
Okay.
Definitely over 4.
Okay.
But I think it's up to 7.
Thank you.
Could be wrong on that. That silos, I mean control equipment, not
More
the
than
silos.
24 hours.
More than 24 hours, yes, that's correct.
So you would produce the asphalt the evening before, and the first trucks they would leave would already have prepared asphalt from the silos?
They could load out trucks in the morning before they've actually started producing new mix. That is true.
Okay.
Okay. We're open to the public still, so witnesses. No, already open, right?
I just have
Oh,
one
I'm sorry,
question.
Marcia.
We're going to be talking about noise with the noise expert, but maybe you could talk about which equipment makes noise, the kind of noise that occurs with this equipment.
All of it makes noise, to be honest, because I mean you've got motors running, you've got flop gates that are opening and closing to let material out. So there's cylinders that are operating. There will be silencers included on a lot of the equipment to meet the sound ordinance in an effort to attenuate as much noise generated by the equipment as possible. But I'm not the acoustician, so I'm going to defer to him.
Thank you.
We're open to the public. Any questions for our witness? Please.
I don't have a whole lot of questions. You referred to...
Mike. Sorry, sir.
Gotta use the microphone.
I apologize.
He wasn't calling you Mike.
I'm sorry?
He's making a
I
joke
didn't
at
catch
Mike's
that.
expense.
So you're assuming I have a sense of humor. I wouldn't make that assumption. Just several questions. Let me just talk first about the silo. The silos are being manufactured, you stated specifically for this site, in the fact that they are lower than the normal height of silos which your company produces.
That is correct.
Now-
We often do custom
Pardon?
height. We often do custom height silos for customers for just this reason.
Yeah. Now, you could in fact also, and you do in fact, manufacture silos that are even lower than 60 feet, do you not?
Our standard silos, no, we're not lower than
I
that.
know your standard silo may be 60 feet or higher, but there are also silos designed which are referred to as being flat silos, which are just simply having capacity being wider rather than going up.
Those kind of silos are not in our product line, no,
Not
sir.
in your product line?
No, sir.
But they are manufactured by other manufacturers, are they
I'm not aware.
Okay.
These are designed to have the height that they are because of the way they feed. They have a special cone height, the angle, so that the first material in is the first material out, because when you want to feed hot mix asphalt, you want the mix level to go down like this so that you do not get segregation. So our heights are dictated much by our cones.
You referred to what is referred to as a warm mix. Now, will this be a warm mix plant, or will it be a combination of hot mix and warm mix?
They will be able to operate either, producing either.
Can they be produced simultaneously, or is there special procedures for each of the two?
No, you cannot produce them simultaneously. You can switch on the fly from one to the other simply by turning the water pump on to send water to the asphalt nozzles. The nozzles inject water right as the asphalt is going into the drum, so we're foaming the asphalt. So you can switch back and forth rather.
Okay. Is it true that warm mix has a shorter shelf life than hot mix as far as once it's loaded into the truck, its shelf life as far as being delivered is less than that of hot mix?
No, that is actually incorrect. It's just the opposite.
Just
You
the
have
opposite?
a better shelf life or haul life, if you will, on the warm mix because it's not at those elevated temperatures and it does not cool down as fast as the hot mix does.
Now, when you speak in terms of getting some opposition in New Jersey years ago, is warm mix accepted as a product by the New Jersey DOT for utilization on highways and parkways and turnpikes?
I do not know that.
You don't know the answer to that?
No, I do not.
Okay. But it's easy to determine that, is it not, if I want to find out?
You should be able to by visiting the DOT website.
Okay. Now, did you bring any exhibits with you to show the front elevation of the silos you're referring to? In other words, your company has brochures, does it not?
We do, but we would not have any of these custom height silos in our standard brochures. So no, I do not have anything with me because they've not been fully designed yet because equipment has not been purchased yet.
Okay. So now, how about with regard to a silo that's greater in height than the 60 feet? You would have exhibits, would you not, of that in your brochure?
We would.
Do you have those with you this evening?
No, I do not.
Okay. Let me just ask you a question. The silo is 60 feet in height. Is there a catwalk around the perimeter of the silo?
There is a deck so that you can get up there and perform maintenance. And actually, the deck of the silo is below 60 feet. That 60 feet is the top of the drag conveyor that's going to get mixed up into the silos.
In other words, it gets loaded onto a conveyor and then goes up to the top of the conveyor and then gets dumped into the silo, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What is the height of that conveyor as it goes up to the top and then gets dropped down into the silo?
The highest point on the drag would be the 60 feet. And it's about 15 feet from the top of the drag to the deck of the silo.
So you're saying the silo is actually only 45 feet in height?
About 45 feet in height.
Okay. Though it has not yet been designed?
No.
Okay. So, but your representation to this board is that the silo, which is being designed and constructed, will only have a height of 45 feet, but the accessory use of getting it up to the top, at the very top, whether it's the silo or the conveyor belt going up, will not exceed 60 feet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
When do you anticipate submitting plans for that design so they could be reviewed either by me or by the board?
Well, I'll have to check with engineering.
But you're telling me that as of this date, that silo has not been engineered?
Not yet, because they have not bought the equipment, and so therefore we will not start any engineering on the equipment until that time.
Okay, so there's nothing to show to anybody as to how it's going to look?
We can show something that is similar. We've done shortened silos before. It wouldn't be the silos specifically for R.E. Pearson, but we can show our ability to produce shortened silos.
Okay, if I were to ask council to provide me with a copy of plans such as that, would you be willing to do so, Mr. Fisher?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it.
Okay, fine, thank you. I don't have any more questions. When you're referring to the silos having the capacity to hold 150 tons, that would be for a silo which is 45 feet in height. Is that not so?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. Just clarify one thing for me, and maybe I misunderstood the testimony. I thought Mr. Mitchell was speaking in terms of 100,000 tons of production a season. It's far much greater than that, is it not? I mean, you're producing 450 tons a day.
Just to clarify, I think he said they were hoping to average that.
Pardon me?
I think he said they were hoping to average that.
An average day of 100,000 tons?
No, not day.
No, not annual.
Year.
100,000 tons per year.
9 months.
Is that correct?
I believe that's what he testified to. You're asking if
Okay.
if it's physically possible to do more.
Didn't you say you had no more questions?
We spoke in terms of the bag house, which is, what is the nature of the building that will house the actual rolling bin that will create the asphalt? Has that been designed yet?
The drum mixer is a standard product.
Okay, do you have copies of that? Plan showing us what the drum mixer looks like?
I did not bring any drawings with me.
Yeah, I believe
this.
the drawings of the plant were submitted to the board.
Yeah, they look just like this.
Yep, that's
Can I see that, please? An exhibit, please. That's 01.
No, that's mine. I can't take that.
Who marks the exhibits?
No, he's not giving it to you as an exhibit.
That's mine.
This was submitted to the board, right?
He's not giving it to you as an exhibit.
I'm sorry?
He's not giving it to you as an exhibit. It's his copy.
No, but if it's in the...
It's in the application, though, right?
Yes.
Mr. Gazarovski, can I see it for a moment, please? Mr. Fisher, a 3-page document was provided, apparently signed by your client, dated May 27, 2015, from Aztec Inc. in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You familiar with that document?
Yes, it was provided at the request of the Environmental Commission to Ms. Padgett for distribution with 21 copies.
So it's not part of the application, technically.
It was submitted
To the Environmental Commission.
No, to us.
the board.
To us?
To the
Okay,
board.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I have it.
Would you agree to have this marked as a applicant exhibit so we can, because it's not really an executor's exhibit since the objector didn't produce it nor anybody on his behalf. You want to mark this as A2?
You're giving away my...
I'm not giving it away, Michael. I'm just marking the document, which is 3 pages in length. Does the applicant have an extra copy for the objector?
Let's see. I think we can get...
You need a copy back,
I have
Michael.
a copy, but it's not colored. So.
Can we provide Mr. Gazarovski before the next hearing with a copy of what we're marking as A2?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was trying to defend you.
I'm going to
right?
put my name on top of it now.
we'll get you a copy.
I got my, I read mine.
He did open it. He got that document. Check with it. It was behind.
I got that.
The board.
You're gonna get a look at it too.
Sorry.
You got Mr. Joe has it.
Looking at exhibit, what you marked A2. That in fact is the drum which is utilized in the process of manufacturing the asphalt, correct?
That is correct.
And I guess the size of that is really determined by the capacity of the silos as far as how much you want to produce during the course of a day, or is the size always the same, the running time is just longer?
Storage capacity has nothing to do with the capacity of the drum. We've got some customers that have one silo with this size drum, so they're not related.
Okay. So it just is a matter of how long it's
It's a
running
matter
to
of
fill up the
preference.
silo. Okay.
Yeah.
Now is that drum, is that just housed in an outside facility, or is it placed into an enclosed building?
No, they're outside.
Okay. So that there is no construction of any building relative to this manufacturing process?
No.
Okay. Where is the bag house located with regard to this manufacturing process?
It's located adjacent to. Here's your drum mixer right here. Here is your bag house.
What is that object?
Microphone.
What is that object going in a westerly direction, which appears to be darker? Yeah, go right there, right there.
This right here?
Yeah, what is that?
Those are the recycle feed bins. They operate in the same exact manner as the cold feed. It's just recycled material that's come off the roadways.
It recycles the asphalt that's produced?
Yes. Makes it a green plant.
Okay. Thank you. Now, with regard to this particular facility, in addition to, I'm sorry, in addition to manufacturing asphalt from the aggregate, will you also be recycling existing asphalt which is picked up and taken away from various roadway sites and the like, and running this through the process?
This plant can process recycled materials.
Okay, now, recycled materials oftentimes contains contaminants which are not present in aggregate, do they not?
Recycle has been extensively studied, and it is not a leach.
Okay. Now, with regard to this particular plant, will it be constructed in such a fashion as to also handle recycled material?
Yes, it can process recycled material. There will be a feed system, and there's a wrap collar on the drum to allow the recycled material to come into the drum after the drying process, so as to keep the recycle away from that combustion process, so we don't generate any other fumes.
So the recycled material comes in, it's ground up, and then
Yes, it will have been pre-processed.
is it processed on the site, or is it pre-processed someplace else?
You would have to ask the customer where I don't know. It's
Now,
not,
when you speak in terms of pre-processing, what does that mean? How do you pre-process something?
the wrap is fractionated. It's put into sizes comparable to the virgin aggregates.
Okay, so it may very well start out being chunks of asphalt, then it's broken down into smaller pieces.
Yes.
But you don't know whether it's being done on this site or not.
No, I do not. It's outside of the scope of the operation of our equipment.
Okay. I have no further questions, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
Nice seeing you.
Any other questions from the public? Questions from the board? Okay.
All right. Mr. Chairman,
We're closing in on 10 minutes to 10.
you got a 10-minute witness with
Yeah.
cross-examination?
Let's try to get in my acoustics engineer as much as possible.
You're
We're stopping his noise at 10.
And I think the full examination of the acoustics will take place at the next meeting.
It's quite possible direct examination may continue
All
at
right.
the next meeting.
Does it not make sense to start it?
Mr. Fisher, it's your application. Understand you've got 9 minutes.
Let's go through. If you could, Mr. Zybura, provide the board with the benefit of your background.
State your full name again.
It's
so-
Jack Zabora, Z-Y-B-U-R-A. I'm a senior engineer at Lewis Goodfriend and Associates. We are consulting engineers in acoustics and noise control. I have a bachelor's of engineering in acoustical engineering, and I also have a PE in the state of New Jersey.
Acceptable.
All right. Could you describe what standards are applicable?
Sure. So New Jersey has a statewide noise regulation enforced by the NJDEP. Those limits are 65 decibels during daytime hours, 50 decibels during nighttime hours, and there are associated octave band different frequency levels for both day and nighttime operations. For this plant, we are going to be designing to meet the nighttime regulation for the rare occurrence that it does operate at night. And from a preliminary look at the equipment being used and the sound levels provided from the manufacturer, we believe that it will be possible to meet those ordinances.
And can you discuss the township's performance standards? For
So the
noise?
township has a standard in section 188 of the zoning code which references what I'll call old frequency ranges. These standards have been out of date since the 1960s. There are no longer any meters that can measure to those standards, and the manufacturer's data is not in the correct format either. So in essence, the 188 standard, section 188 is obsolete, and we cannot compare to that code or comply with it because it can't be measured. In addition, NJDEP stipulates that all municipal regulations have to be submitted to the state for approval, and Hillsborough has not been approved as of today.
And that's the Noise Control Act of 1971?
Correct.
Okay. And can you describe what you would do in a formal noise assessment to comply with NJAC 729.1 and 2?
If requested by the board, we will perform a formal noise study after the fully operational plan is up and running to confirm that we are meeting the standards that would consist of meters that will meet the requirements of the NJDEP and procedures also in line with the DEP.
Just to be clear, you anticipate being able to fully comply with those standards?
Yes.
All right. Are there any questions from the board?
All your noise contained, or is it noticeable to the any surrounding?
Well, it's contained in the sense that some of the equipment will have silencers on it. We can also install localized barriers and enclosures around certain pieces of equipment. We did perform a set of ambient measurements of the baseline levels out there, and they range between 50 decibels up to 68 decibels depending on time of day and what's going on. I mean, if the adjacent property has a truck driving on it, it can get up into the 60s and 70s.
What is the decibel rating of a train going on the tracks past the plant?
It depends how far away you are. I mean, if you're 20 feet from it, you could get up into the 80s, 80 decibels.
So the plant would be quieter than the train going past it?
Yes.
Well done.
Just makes sense, you know? It's not rocket science.
Mr. Chairman.
Open to the public?
Well-
Experts. Mr.
Not
Reason?
at this time.
Okay, now you're fine. How about you, Marcia? Sure you don't have anything to say? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
it's 5 to 5.
5 to 10.
5 to 10, I'm sorry.
I'd like to hold off on closing evaluations, so we'll start the next meeting.
which actually, Mr. Chairman, brings us to the next issue, which is when the continuation of this application is. The next possible date, and to some extent controlled by Mr. Fisher, because I believe the other application on is yours, Richmond Properties.
Okay, yep.
And the possibility of Amwell Commons, which is Mr. Ogrodnik's handiwork, will be July the 9th.
I mean, I'll only have the cross-examination of Mr. Zabura, our traffic expert, and any further questions in wrapping
And I
it up.
assume you're operations manager?
Operations manager as well.
That, the offer is July 9th, otherwise you're looking at September.
I think we'll have to do July 9th.
All right, so the proposal is to continue this application, Mr. Chairman, which is 15 PB05 MSRV Pearson Properties LLC till July 9th without notice. Mr. Fisher, you planning on having any of the other prior parties returning in case? I don't think this, unless the board feels the need.
And does the board feel a need to, I know Ms. Sutton showed we flew her up from Tennessee for this. Mr. Vice Chairman, do you think?
We're fine.
I like her accent, make her come back.
All right.
I want to know more about how.
We will not plan to have her, but everyone else is local, and if need be, we can have them.
Okay. So the motion, Mr. Chairman, would be to continue this application without notice until July the 9th.
I hear a motion from the board.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Second. All those?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, nice carry.
We'll have to figure out which one will go first.
I hear a motion to, adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just remind the board that there will be an application to be heard on the 25th of June. This is Amwell Commons, RPM Development, in lieu of a business meeting, so. Motion to adjourn. I didn't hear a vote. Huh? Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Adjourning, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, adjourn.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, you and I.